To those who bled for peace, remembered in shadow. The words were cut into stone on a world where human feet had never walked. They stood beneath a sky streaked with 3 suns, on a plaza built by scaled hands and careful claws. The Shun called the place the Square of Memory. Though most who passed the monument only knew that it honored a war, no one wanted to recall in detail. The language of the inscription was not their own. It was Terran standard, etched with painful precision, the letters never translated. It was a choice. The old council had decreed that though the children of the Confederation might not know the tongue, they must see its shape, must feel the weight of foreign syllables pressed into permanence. Many hurried past. War was unpleasant, memory heavier still. Yet sometimes, on the anniversaries, pilgrims gathered. Shun spread their wings and let feathers catch the sunlight. Vari stood in silent formation, tails wrapped tight. Quillen sang low, their voices reverberating in their triple lungs. None spoke the words aloud, but all knew the tale whispered in schools and carried in lullabies. The humans saved us, though it broke them to do it. Admiral Rael Okoro had never seen a monument built to honor him. He had never intended to. In truth, he had not even been meant to fight. When Rael was first posted to the Confederation Council, it was as Earth's representative, a latecomer from a young, troublesome species. He was a diplomat, not a warlord. The Confederation was supposed to be a chamber of reason, where disputes unraveled over years of speeches and votes, not battlefields. But when the Chyr arrived, reason evaporated like water against fire. The Chyr were not like any enemy the Confederation had faced. They did not send envoys. They did not posture with weapons at borders. They simply arrived, vast hive ships drifting like mountains of flesh and alloy, alive and relentless. They consumed worlds not with malice but with hunger, converting all they touched into more of themselves. To the Chyr, the Confederation's voices were static. They did not recognize other minds as minds. At first, the Confederation reacted as it always did. They convened. They drafted statements. They argued for cycles. In that time, 3 Vari colonies fell silent. A Shun homeworld burned in silence, its skies darkened by living ships that stripped oceans bare. Still, the council deliberated. Still, they hesitated. Rael had not. When his time to speak came, his voice was steady, almost calm. "We cannot negotiate," he said. "We cannot reason. So we will fight, not like you fight, like we do. And we will not stop until they stop moving." The chamber erupted in outrage. The Shun clacked their beaks, horrified. The Vari hissed accusations of barbarism. The Quillen keened at the thought of open slaughter. Yet the human delegation, scattered, small, outsiders still, met Rael's words with grim nods. It was not bravado. It was recognition. The council resisted, but desperation eroded principle. When Dera Prime, the last choke point before the Confederation's heart, fell under threat, they had no one left to turn to. Against their instincts, against centuries of doctrine, they gave command of the defense to Rael Okoro of Earth. The human fleets gathered at Dera Prime. They were not impressive by Confederation standards. Human carriers were smaller than Vari dreadnoughts, rougher than Shun precision craft. They were bristling with modular weapons that looked half-built, jury-rigged engines that bent safety regulations until they screamed. To alien eyes, they were death traps. To humans, they were flexible. Rael stood on the bridge of the Nairobi, flagship of Earth's contingent, and looked at the fleet assembled under his reluctant command. He saw the Shun wings extended in glittering formation. He saw the Vari dreadnoughts, immense and bristling. He saw Quillen ships, sleek and heavy-voiced. And around them, holding tenuous formation, were the humans, smaller, more fragile, but burning with the kind of energy that only came when one had nothing left to lose but defiance. The battle began without words. The Chyr did not signal. They did not warn. They fell upon Dera Prime like a tide of teeth. The Confederation opened fire in brilliant silence. Energy lances, torpedoes, gravitic distortions. The sky turned to white fire. And the Chyr kept coming. Vari dreadnoughts cracked like eggshells under the endless tide. Chyr formations broke, their wings torn apart by sprays of bioplasma. Quillen voices cut into static as their hulls collapsed inward. The line, so carefully drawn, shattered. It was then that humanity showed what it meant to fight on their own terms. Human carriers dove into the swarm instead of holding the line. They cut paths like knives, dispersing drones, strike craft, kinetic harpoons tipped with nuclear fire. Their losses were catastrophic. Their survival was improbable. Yet every ship that burned took 5, 10, 20 Chyr with it. They fought not to hold territory, but to bleed the enemy until even the unstoppable began to falter. Rael watched the numbers mount. For every human life lost, 100 million Confederation civilians gained time to flee. For every vessel torn apart, another world had a day to evacuate. It was a brutal calculus, but it was the only one left. Still, it was not enough. The Chyr were endless. Humanity was not. In the long hours between assaults, Rael stood in the quiet of the Nairobi's command deck, staring at the projected swarm. The Chyr hive ships were visible now, massive cores of biotic tissue buried within fleets the size of continents. Intelligence suggested that if enough cores were destroyed at once, the swarm would fracture, lose its terrible cohesion. But no strategy had ever reached them. They were buried too deep. Unless someone charged, unless someone spent everything. Rael gathered the captains of the human fleet. His voice was quiet. The only way through is together. We will drive into the swarm, break through to the cores, and strike. We won't come back, but they will not continue. He did not order. He did not command. He simply said, I will go. Who will come with me? Every hand rose. The charge of the human fleet into the swarm was not recorded in detail. Confederation archives hold fragments, bursts of comms, half-transmitted screams, sensor ghosts. One clear message remains, Rael's voice broadcast on all channels. Hold fast. Humanity stands for you. Remember us. The Nairobi led the charge. It vanished in fire within minutes. But in those minutes, the human fleet reached the cores. Reactors were overloaded, weapons fired until barrels melted, crews fighting hand-to-hand in corridors flooded with fire. Human voices screamed defiance into the void, and then silence claimed them. And then, impossibly, the swarm broke. The Chyr convulsed, hive ships collapsing inward, fleets turning upon themselves. For the first time, they faltered. The Confederation's surviving forces surged. Chyr wings darted in. Vari unleashed their heavy firepower. Quillen voices cut through with brutal resonance. The Chyr fled, fragments of themselves devouring each other in confusion. They vanished into dark space and never returned. When the smoke cleared, not a single human ship remained. Not one. The Confederation endured. Worlds were saved. Civilization survived. But humanity at Dera Prime was gone, and so the monument was raised. Not by Earth, for Earth's children never returned to claim their dead, but by those they saved. The Chyr, the Vari, the Quillen, all carved into stone a language not their own. They did not translate it, did not soften it. They let it stand in Terran standard, so that all who came after would ask, and learn, and whisper. To those who bled for peace, remembered in shadow, children still stand before it under the three suns. They trace the letters with claws, with feathers, with trembling hands. They do not know Earth, they do not know Rael Okoro, but they remember humanity. And in the silence of space, where the void holds echoes longer than memory, perhaps Rael's voice still drifts, a signal lost but not gone, whispering across endless night. Hold fast. Humanity stands for you. Remember us.